It's a big change. It's a change in philosophy. It's a change in approach in how things are counted, how they're displayed.
The sheer length of time that we've been using the same set of indicators makes it hard to move away from.
But I think if you look at the benefits of the NIBRS system, you look at the detailed information that you have, the ability to do better crime analysis, the more timely information that you have, the benefits far outweigh the negatives in terms of the transition. And the negatives go away after a while.
Anything really good takes time. It takes commitment. It takes buy-in and support at all levels.
What we've seen the last year and a half through this movement is there's some excitement. Agencies are getting on board. They realize that there's impacts, there's still some challenges that they're trying to overcome in moving their agency to NIBRS. I mean, it's a cultural change. It's a different way to look at the crime data and how they report it.
This is the way we're going as a nation. This is what we need to do. We'll police better because of it. And then getting their buy-in, showing them what that data means on the back end and being able to visualize it and say, hey, I'm gonna help you go to where the crime is so you can do your job.
The biggest advice I would give is it's got to be like anything really good and important and meaningful. It's got to be well thought out. There has to be policy, there has to be training, it has to be collaborative.
The big thing is to develop your NIBRS data collections within the workflow of your police department. Once you do that, it becomes second nature to the officer and they know exactly what they need to fill out and when they need to fill it out.
So that really NIBRS doesn't become something they have to think about. Ideally, we get to the point where they just do their job and they focus on crime fighting and what they need to do, and the NIBRS magic, if you will happen in the background.
You had to come up with an implementation plan to train your officers. At the time, Fort Worth had 1,500 officers and about 400 civilian employees that we had to train, and they had to learn not only a new software, but learn how to report crime by the NIBRS way.
We did roll call training, and again, the crime analyst took the lead on that. No issues at all.
Then when we actually went live with the software, we actually had a command room that they could go to and use the software, and there would be trainers in there that would help them.
A lot of training with our records staff, training with our command staff, some external discussions, and it's an iterative process. It's ongoing. It's something that we're going to have to continue to work through.
Pull in some of the younger gung-ho officers so that when they're out in the field and the officers say, oh man, I don't know how to use this software, I say, oh yeah, I was one of the trainers here, let me show you. And that takes the burden off an RMS administrator.
One of the largest challenges was to disabuse folks of the notion that going from summary to NIBRS would increase the amount of crime that is reflected in their jurisdictions. And the truth be known that when you compare apples to apples, those index crimes that are reported through NIBRS basically reflect the same numbers that were done through summary.
One of the biggest things I think is trying to get buy-in, is trying to get people to understand, well, what does this change mean?
You really can get out in front of it by explaining the transition to NIBRS, explaining it to the media, and explaining it to the elected officials.
What we're trying to also do through our communities of trust is take the NIBRS data and share that with different diverse communities. Say, look, these numbers are showing these types of crimes in your community, and where we need to use the data to direct us into different parts of the community to fight crime, but it needs to start with building a trust.
To me, it's exciting because we're not going to get a lot more cops. Cops are expensive. We'd love to get 300 more cops tomorrow. We know that's not going to happen. So how can we use data to our advantage? NIBRS is building a foundation that will help us better utilize the resources we have to better fight crime, to keep our communities safer, to put the cops where they should be at the right times in the right places with the right tactics. And again, that seems simple, but we have to build a foundation for the future.